Why ADHD empaths feel overwhelmed and how to break free from that. Aloha, my beautiful ones. My name is May. I'm your friendly cyber witch from next door, here to support you thrive as an ADHD empath in your business and in your personal life. Myself being an ADHD empath, yeah, I know how it feels when you get overwhelmed. But let's get started with why we become overwhelmed, right? So, where does that come from? And being ADHD empaths, we have basically two forms that create overwhelm for us. And, starting with, of course, being an empath, we feel everybody's energy. So, we get overwhelmed with other people's emotions, other people's feelings, other people's things happening, being that's like the most, that's, we know that one, right? And then on the other hand, we have the ADHD part that comes from us having so much inspiration that, again, for me, that the line between ADHD and empath is very thin. So the inspiration that we get can come from, having so many people out there telling you their things, and you can become the same as excited about things like they do, right? So you have so many ideas and you want to do that, and then you get overwhelmed. The same. So this belongs together for both trades because we basically become overwhelmed, especially by being surrounded by people, being surrounded by a lot of people, having a lot of people walking, talking around you, saying things, I remember when I was, back in corporate world, I had 150 people to take care of as the assistant of, the CEO of that small, how do you say, like, subsidiary. And that was one thing. But then also we were in an office space where we had 2,000 colleagues around us, and having that many people around you can become overwhelmed because you hear everything, you see everything, whatever they do, which is basically one of the reasons why I love the way I have, created my job and life now, because being self-employed, being an entrepreneur gives me the possibility to choose when do I have the strength, to dive in and talk to people and when not. And today's a very huge example for me because, there's right now in Germany, there's a lot of things happening politically wise. And of course, due to that, a lot of people are going on the streets to walk. And I love one of the signs that I saw on one of the, how do you call them, demonstrations, manifestations, when people go to the street, go to the streets. And I remember one of them saying, "It's so bad that even introverts are out," and that resonated with me so much because, of course, with everything happening, I am for diversity, for and for us, supporting women's rights, and and everybody's rights, actually, because I think it's so important. But what I want to tell you with this is, in spite of all of this happening right now, or maybe because of all of this happening, um, you know, of course, I felt the need to also go and be on the streets. And today was one of the biggest ones in my area that I wanted to be part of as well. But something, a couple of energetic things, let's put them this way, happened in the morning. And I realized right now the best thing that I can do is, you know, help myself with my overwhelm, because right now, everything happening, I need to do something that helps me come back to myself, come back to who I am, to to stand back in my power, to be able to stand in my power. And with this, I'm going to share with you what I did today, because I think it is one of my favorite things to do, to come out of overwhelm. And but I'm not just going to share that. I'm going to share a little bit more. So for me, that, being this, having because we're still at the overwhelm part. So those are the reasons why we have overwhelm. But I want to share with you also one of the things that make us have overwhelm, get overwhelmed. Um, because that's also one of the things. I don't know if I've told you maybe in earlier videos, but I'm going to tell you today. One of the things that happened to me when my empathy has started to, let's say, bloom in its energy within me, um, is that I thought from the, how do you call that? Like the symptoms that I had were from a depression, right? And here in Germany, they actually have this thing that they call certain forms of depressions that come from, for example, too much work, too much, when you're working. So they actually call it. It has this. That's the English name that it has. That's called burnout. And then there's a second form of depression that has the same symptoms. Also, a lot of people think it comes from overwhelm, but when you look at it, it's not from overwhelm. It's actually from underwhelm. Sort of, because, and this is funny because I hadn't heard because of course I started therapy back then. And I remember my therapist saying, no, you don't have a burnout. You have a bore out. That's what they call it here. And bore out basically means that you don't see that you don't see purpose, that you don't see a reason, for what you're doing. You don't have the drive for it because it just doesn't make sense. It's like it doesn't have sense for you anymore. And but what I realized with that thing, knowing now with everything, that I learned later on, the Hawaiians came and helped me understand everything about energy. And one of the main things that I understood with that, and that's why I'm sharing this with you, is because things can happen because of an overwhelm within us, right? It doesn't have to be just outside, but it can be within us. And for me, the best way to describe that means that something happens in the outside and we start having a resistance towards it. It's like we don't want this to happen. And I'm sharing this especially for both traits because as empaths, we tend to not want certain energies. So we start going into hyperdrive to no, I don't want this, right? So we start resisting it. And that resistance makes us really tired, makes us really go into that. Like I realized that meetings with the right kind of people, maybe you have realized for yourself, meetings with the right kind of people feel good, feel amazing. And you're like, oh my God, this is so good. This feels so good, right? And you don't feel overwhelmed afterwards because it's the right kind of people. The moment there's people there that trigger something within you, and with that, I mean that resistance inside of us, because either they have values that we don't vibe with, or you can go deeper into this, like there can be things like it's people that don't allow you to be yourself. All of those things can trigger this resistance inside of you, and it's like you're fighting yourself, and because of it you get overwhelmed with yourself. All right, so that's another reason why we become overwhelmed. And again, same thing applies to the ADHD trait within us, because you know um that's the little, I would say that's the little difference between the empath trait and the ADHD trait, because the empath trait comes a lot from the outside information that we receive. The ADHD trait is that we overwhelm ourselves because we are, like I just mentioned, we start fighting ourselves. Maybe not because of someone else's energies, but because we think we're too lazy. So we try to make it different. I actually have a friend that burned himself out because he was trying to get into habits for, I'm going to call it the normies. But they, you get overwhelmed with those because you just, they didn't help you get any further, and you kept fighting yourself because you're trying to go against your own nature, right? So anything that makes us go against our own nature starts exhausting us. It's like that inner resistance, it's like that inner fight, and we keep fighting ourselves. And that's another form of overwhelm that we have. And I would say that those are like the top three that we have as ADHDers. Probably, if we have more time, we could go way deeper into this and I could explain a couple more. But I promised you a couple of techniques, and especially the one that I use today, that helps you, ground yourself, come back to who you are. And I'm probably repeating myself because I'm not sure what we talked about, the how-tos that we talked about last week, but just take it as a reminder to maybe, see which of these um, resonate with you that you want to give it a try. So for starters, and let's start with the one that I did today. Anything that you can do that helps you on a physical level, helps you be more active. And I'm not saying that you have to go and do sports now or things like that. No, it's just to get you focused on your body. That can be, for example, it can be sports. It can be a body scan. It can be like this, sitting down right now, focusing on your body and going through, from top to bottom. It can be focusing on your breathing. If you like different kinds of breathings, for me, there are so many beautiful ways, and breathing techniques are so amazing because they also not just, help us, especially us ADHD empaths, refocus the energy to us. It also helps your whole physical body to just relax. It helps you relax into yourself, into your being, right? So that's one thing. And what I did today is that I have a hiking app, and I have been meaning to test a couple of the walks. And in the morning when I just felt this, like everything was crumbling, and I'm like, dude, I need to do something for myself to help me, ground myself. Oh, come on, I have that app. Let's go look at it. What do we have? And there was a walk for a 3 hour walk. I actually wanted to do a 3 hour walk, but I ended up doing only 2 hours, which was perfectly fine for me. It was a beautiful walk. It just, um, and I have to admit, like when I do walks, it's not like that I go there and go boop, 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 and just walk it off. If you need it, go for it. There's days where I need that too. But just being surrounded by pure nature, being surrounded by um, that beauty and little magical things. And it was so amazing watching, especially that whole trail, because it wasn't just being in nature, it was seeing little things that humans had left that weren't disturbing, that were actually fitting into, like there was someone that had painted a little stone, and you could see it there. And a river, and just sitting there and just seeing, and this is the part of the humans, because this is actually a park that was created from with a doctor way back then for your health. And it has benches all over the place, so you have little benches where you're actually invited to sit down and to just listen. And so you hear the little stream passing by, and you hear the birds in the trees, and just sitting there, it's just like, and you're there, and then you're just listening to it, and it's beautiful. And like you see, it brings you, it helps your brain go. Of course your brain is going on other things in your head. You're probably, thinking about something that happened in at work, or something that a friend said, right? You're still doing that, but the more you do that, the more you bring yourself back for tiny moments, like the body scan. The same thing is when you are sitting there in one place, and it doesn't have to be long. If you manage to do it for a minute, amazing. If you manage to do it more, even better. But just sitting there and soaking in your surroundings, just that, just sitting there and going like, okay, so I see trees, I see leaves. What else do I see? Oh, I'm hearing the stream. I am smelling this or that, right? So you go into this and you have that, and it just, for a little moment, everything's gone. Everything's out there. And so this is like going walks in nature. Nature always helps with everything. But if you can't do that, or if you're more of the sporty person, you know, find a sport that helps you not think of things. I remember I had times where it was running. Then I had times where it was climbing, rock climbing. Then I had times, well, always, I will always have scuba diving whenever I do scuba diving. But, where I'm living right now, it's a little bit harder. But I'm looking forward going back to that as well. So you have that, right? So um, find, like I'm trying to tell you, find something that helps you, bring the focus back to your physical body, whatever kind of movement it is, whatever kind of way that you can move, oopala, that you can move for yourself, right? That's like my favorite technique that you can use to ground yourself, because that's a form of grounding that you can do to get out of overwhelm. I am going to mention, of course, meditation, because meditations do help. And but like I just said, if you practice just being in the moment, that's also a form of meditation, right? But I also want to do the disclaimer that I know that sometimes for us, we have so much in our head that meditating won't help. What does help is having focused thoughts like mantras and affirmations, for example. Or one of the things why I loved having my shamanic practice when I learned to be a shaman. Um, what I loved about it was the way we got in contact with spirit by having a special form of meditation, of shamanic journey that you do. And I love those journeys because other than, when you think of meditation, it's always about quiet your mind, quiet your mind. And for us, it's hard to quiet our minds because we don't just think in one level. We have like three different, or 57 tabs, like I always say, right? At the same time, that are running at the same time, right? So, having a shamanic journey or doing a shamanic journey sort of like focuses you because you have something to do. There's something that you have to do. It's like you have to go speak to your spirits, go and talk to your spirits, and then have your spirits, tell you things. And again, here, have grace with yourself. Even I, after years of practicing all of this, I have days where I try to do something like this and my brain's going all over the place. And I know, okay, it's not the day. I'll come back tomorrow. I'll try it in 2 days or maybe in a week, right? Because right now I can't do that. So that's not going to be a good form. But I want to mention it because it might help you in between. So go back to either mantras. I'm offering a couple of them on my social media channels. Right now I'm mainly on TikTok and LinkedIn. So if you want to go check that out, because you'll find some mantras, some body scans, some practices that I do, quick ones that you can use for whenever you need it. um, that's another technique, and I'm just thinking of what else can we do to get rid of overwhelm. um, we had already the body version, um, and now we had the mind version, basically. At the end of the day, at the end of the day, the more we work on transforming and healing our inner child, I'm going to call it the inner child, but it's also meaning our programming, everything, all the belief systems that we have made, created for us. Like for us, for example, meaning that being an ADHD, you're wrong. No, you're not wrong. You just wired differently, right? And that's why I advocate for it, that we start learning that ADHD is not something that makes us wrong. It makes us special, and that we have a special gift that we can use to work with. And the more we learn to accept that, to integrate that in ourselves. And that's just one of the things. I know that, being an empath, when you get this overwhelm and it's like you have this paralysis because you're like in over your head with everything. Having that 1 or 2 days to ground yourself, to come back to yourself, sometimes feels like you're lazy. That's also a belief system. You're not lazy. You're actually recharging your battery so that you can walk on better. And the more you learn to allow yourself those very known rests for yourself, the better you're going to be able to thrive with all that beautiful gifts that you have. And so to be able to have that thriving even more, it's about, for me, it's about finding those beliefs and transforming them. So on the long haul, so the tips that I gave you today will help you, but you're also going to notice that they will help you on a short term, on a quick one when you're very overwhelmed. But if you want to make it for longer, for more sustainable way, it's the deep, deep work with your programming, with the beliefs, with the fears, with, tackling all those feelings that have been bottled up that are there, because I know they're there. Having grown up in this society, we have those things. And I'm showing it like this for those of you only listening. I'm sort of like showing to my back, sort of, because it feels like we're having them as a backpacks, behind us, and we're still, carrying all that weight with us. And the more we start learning to take those things away, the more we can open up to the beautiful and magical moments that we can have. And I'm telling you this from my own experience. Like I said, I have, I learned everything. Like I said, I am one myself. I have gone through, the whole empath part, because that was the first thing that I realized for myself, that I have that empathy. And weirdly, once I was very stable with that, I realized that actually I have ADHD traits that I don't want to say I healed them, because they might come up every now and then, because I do still have moments, because I'm working, we're all humans, and I'm still working through my programming. I've been working on my programming since, I don't know, 15 years, 16, 20 years, I don't know. Whenever I started on my spiritual path, and you start, decluttering and getting rid of all of those things. So I do know how you feel. So I hope that what I told you today will help you on short term get into your strength, but will also help you realize the best thing that you can do for yourself is to work on those, on your, I'm going to call them, I'm not very big fan of shadow work, but I'm going to put it in here because I know that a lot of you might understand what I'm talking about. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and all the things that I told you. If you'd like to, I have a questionnaire down here in the description where I show you shield and shine. It's my shield and, it's a questionnaire that I have for you to discover your ADHD empath blueprint. But if you like to, you can decide by yourself if you feel like it. At the end of the questionnaire, you can leave me your email address, and if you do, you will receive a couple of emails, and one of them contains my Shield and Shine workshop for free, where I explain how you can shield yourself energetically, and you're gonna see a couple of exercises and how-tos that you can use for yourself, for example, for when you're feeling overwhelmed. Because that's one of the things that I like to teach my coachees from the very beginning. It's important for you to shield yourself, to protect yourself in the beginning. And the way if you start learning all of those things for yourself, you're going to see that at the end you're not going to need that shielding stuff. But at the beginning, it's important because we need you to come back into your strength so that you can work on everything to make it more sustainable. With that said, my beautiful soul, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to share it with others, let me know in the comments. Click follow if you haven't already. And I wish you a wonderful time and enjoy the song coming up.
Sunrise glow, my energy's high, feeling the waves as they amplify. Breathing deep, I claim my space, grounding down in time and place. I feel the world like an open line, every heart sinks into mine. Emotions crash like ocean waves, but I was built to ride these days. Too many voices, so much sound, my mind's a sky. rushing thoughts like an untamed flame. But I don't fight, I trust, I flow, let the energy guide where I go. Walk through nature, breathe it deep, still the storm, find what I keep. Water sings, the earth hums low, my soul tunes in, I rise, I glow. I realign, let the rhythm unwind, let the beat bring me back to my shine. Dancing free, I reclaim my zone. In my power, I'm standing strong. Electric mind, I break the chains, charge with the pulse like data veins. Neon thoughts, I light the way, code my path, I don't delay. Firewalls crash, I breathe the sky, cyber witch magic, I amplify. No resistance, I let go, synced in spirit, watch me light, horizon wide, I trust the flow, no need to hide.